Okay, and let's get back to Oatly, and you've been involved until December last year when you left the board.
Correct.
It's now a success with more than $600 million in revenue and fast growth, more than 50% year on year, still growing very fast. Present in more than 20 countries. So it's a success in retrospect, but the official story is that you and your brother founded it in 1994, but you sold your company in 1987, so I don't think that story is. It's a simplification of the truth.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about the early years? I mean, the idea was from the 80s and so on. How did it come to happen?
So my brother, professor of food chemistry at Björn University, when he was a young student, he studied under Professor Dahlqvist, also at Björn University, and Mr. Dahlqvist was the guy that discovered or invented, if you like, lactose intolerance. So my brother grew up academically in that world, right, where milk equals issues. Otherwise, in Sweden, milk is holy and don't mess with my milk kind of country, or used to be, until we changed that. So he grew up academically looking at issues around milk, and I think come the late 1980s, we started realizing that it's more than just lactose intolerance. It's at that time was widely discussed all the abuse or use of antibiotics and the whole animal husbandry practices. And then of course we started realizing that they burn fart methane gas, which obviously is a big contributor to greenhouse gas emissions. So it was natural to start from a scientific point, trying to figure out a better way of doing a milk, right? It delivers protein, fat, carbohydrates, but also delivers on the functions and properties that you expect from a milk. You can cook with it, you can make ice cream, and all that good stuff, right? So from his point of view, that was a formidable challenge. It took him a few years. He couldn't do it by himself. He aligned himself with a number of really smart scientists in various disciplines, and by 1994, and it wasn't given that it was going to be an oats either. It was just a white sheet of paper. How do I make a better milk? But he did land in oats pretty quickly because of its nutritional properties. It's all over the world. It's widely available, very well known for its health properties, and very few allergens associated with it. All that good stuff combined to oats really being a forgotten, misused, abused, real super crop.
Did you try any other crops that didn't make it?
Oh, he studied, I think, a long list of all cereals. Maybe not too many exotic products at that point in time, but he studied a lot of different. I think he said 80 different plants. So that's how it started there, and he fiddled around and found some patents in the early 1990s, and by 94 he formed a company, and nobody wanted to invest, and nobody really wanted to do anything with it, and certainly not the dairy industry that discarded this as a fake milk idea. So by 1997, when I had done my software journey, I was fortunate to look around and what should I do now? I was pretty burned by the crazy travel schedules, and I felt so ready for something new. And started aligned, and we started working on this. I thought I was going to be an investor, but it very quickly became a passion. And we started rolling out how do you sell the product in a market where everybody loves the existing product and nobody really wants to talk to you. How do you sort of, with 5% lactose intolerance and among the highest per capita consumption of dairy in the world, and that was the Swedish market at that time, right? But that was, you had to find the low-hanging fruits, milk protein allergic children, for example. Anyway, so we tried a couple of different avenues, and in 2001 we launched the brand Oatly.
But did you give up? Were you close to giving up, or were you convinced that this was going to be something big in the future?
You know what? I get this question so many times, and I live in the US now. My wife is American. I've been in the US on and off for the last 20 years. So So, and in the US, of course, people are impatient, right? And a big investment, and they expect immediate success. How can you work on something for 25 years? I mean, what's wrong with you, right? But the fun thing is that every year was better than the year before. Just that little bit, and then you can see that around the corner is even more success. I can see it, so you can kind of keep going. And of course there were setbacks. Of course there were moments when, the whole production went down the drains and like, shit, what do we do now, right? Those kind of things that goes with entrepreneurship. Before you figure out your processes and your routines and know how to deliver qualities of the product that should taste the same every time you open the carton, right? It took a good few years, but yeah, we kept hacking and we had fun. And I think one very rewarding thing was that the consumers that we conquered in the early days were extremely loyal. And we started realizing that the Oatly brand, and I think this came very early, 2001, 2002, we started talking about it. It's actually not owned by us. It's owned and controlled by our consumers, because they keep, if we do something wrong, we hear it right away. And if we do something right, we hear it right away. So it became a matter of responsibility and management of something that is bigger than us. So if you want to be successful in this category, you darn better have a product that works in tea and coffee. And our product didn't. We did so much work for years. And in 2014, so it's that 13 years after our launch, we finally launched the Barista product. And that opened the world to Oatly overnight. Because all of a sudden we had a product which had total mass market appeal. We didn't really have that until now. And when you're a mass market, your branding changes, your consumer communication changes overnight, right? And we had to rebuild our brand, and that's what we realized. We had to bring in a new leadership. Well, they came in a year earlier to do that. But when you go from a focused niche product to a mass market product, it's not just the pretty sticker on the carton that changes. It's the whole mindset of the entire organization. We essentially laid off the entire senior management team over a period of 1 year. I think one person, head of R&D, remained, but the rest, head of sales, head of marketing, were gone because they came from their own mindset.
Yeah, and tell us a little bit about that, because Tony Peterson as the CEO was not an obvious choice, because you have no experience of running a company like Oatly. So how was that process?
We were frustrated. We talked about in our meeting earlier today about hiring and firing CEOs. I've done a few of that now. I'm pretty experienced at firing CEOs. But what we wanted was the conductor and the music orchestra, right? That sort of have the experts in the various different matters and can conduct and make everybody in the team create this incredible, wonderful sonata or music. And we just couldn't find that in the food industry, and we worked a lot for the headhunters that we were working with, very qualified, the best of the best, everybody thought. But they kept coming with these candidates with fantastic CVs from the food industry, and we at some point we were like, we don't want anyone from the food industry, because at this point, 2012, there were no disruptors in the market really, right? And the food industry was set and defined by the big food companies, and they had a different modus operandi. So we started looking outside of that, and we found this wacky guy that just, I don't know if you remember, anyone has seen Bumblebee, the little backpacks, the plastic hard shell backpacks, were super trendy. He ran that company. And he was selling that. He had 3 markets here: Sweden, he had California, and Japan. And it was all about lifestyle and engaging consumers. And we felt like, he got it. This guy gets it. He gets consumers. And in his previous career, he had dealt with his mother with a Japanese restaurant in Malmö. So part of the interview was that it's not about delivering what the consumer, you never go and ask the consumer what they want. You always need to give them something they did not expect, and then of course appreciate and take to them, right? And if you can get that, then you have a foundation for success. And I think it's safe to say, I think he's done that.
That US is maybe the hardest market to succeed in, and still.
Well, see, people ask that, right? And I spent in the food industry. I spent most of my career in Malmö, and in our office, we look across the water, and there's another country on the other side. That's much harder.
Okay.
If you can make it to Denmark, you can make it anywhere.
Second hardest one.
Second hardest one. Well, China too. But yeah, you know what? I think people are scared about the US. I had many fights in the board. I mean, I was around and tried to get the launch in 2008. I think you should absolutely have big respect for the US market, for sure, like you should have in any market you go in. Right? All markets have their idiosyncrasies and their, special ways of attacking them. But I'm like with my Good Idea product, we launched first in the US, nowhere else, right? It takes time. I think what people do, they go into a new market and they rush it, right? You send a guy over, or you start working with a distributor or whatever, and you don't do your full homework. You have to be prepared to invest in learning and understanding and finding the right people. And I think I recommend anyone that wants to go into the US market, hire your own person. Don't work with partners, because it's a matter of priority, it's a matter of having that direct access and direct knowledge of the market. Yeah, it's a difficult market, but Germany is a difficult market. I don't think US is more. I mean, to build a successful company, you have to obviously have a product, a service, right, that delivers. You need to have a team. But equally important in this sort of tripod is to have the right donors. We have, in my journey, a lot of my work was actually to work and have the right donors at the right point in time. So when we started, we got in a number of traditional Swedish funds, long-term, but very low risk profile. And that was okay in the beginning, because we weren't really, there was a risky bit, everything is risky in the beginning, but it wasn't big money, right? And they filled the purpose, and then we started seeing, as we grew bigger, that we needed more people with more industry experience that could give us benefits that way. And after the successful launch on the various times, started testing it in Europe, we realized that we have a window of opportunity, and it's there, and it's now to scale globally. But if you have then conservative, risk-averse owners, it won't work. So that took us about 2 years to convince actually our key investors at that time to bring in an external ownership that had solely the globalization and global development in mind. That you wouldn't have to have a board meeting where you sit and discuss the risks of going to the US or not. The mindset shifted from cautious conservative company building to, okay, we've proven, we know it works, we've done our consumer test, the product works, we've proven we can build it, we've proven we can supply it, it's all in or nothing. And if we don't take this opportunity now, somebody else will. So, yes, that led to us bringing in a combination of two companies, Berlin Westphal, which is the family office for the families that own and control the world's largest brewing company, AB InBev. It's a Belgian family, it's a Belgian company, and their view on the world was, okay, we go and scan the world for regionally successful products that we can help take global. So, couldn't be a better match, right? And at that time, I was still running over China, and it was very clear. We spent many years here, a long fun story, you can talk for hours about that too. But it was clear that if we're going to have any chance of succeeding succeeding on the Chinese market at all. We need a local Chinese partner that can help open doors and help things get moving. But it wasn't the Chinese partner that built the China business, it was Oatly and Oatly's people that built China, but with the help of a Chinese partner that happened to own the largest retail organization in China, that happened to own second largest coffee chain in China, that happened to own one of the largest pharmacy chains, etc., etc. So very logical.